To the organizers, the European Parliament and the Faculty of Arts. I would thank for this kind invitation to this event, which regards small languages. I'm sorry for speaking English. Well, it's a big language, but I am Czech and I don't speak any Slovene, unfortunately. Anyway, I think that there is no small language, because as long as a language matters to us, as native speakers, it is important, and that is what counts. As it was said before me already, the European Parliament is the most multilingual institution, and all European citizens have the right to address the Parliament and to listen to what is happening in the Parliament in their own native language. This is very important. The European Parliament is a very democratic and open and transparent institution where you can really listen to what is going on. And the interpreters are trying to give a hand. Here you can see interpreters working in the plenary room, plenary hemicycle in Strasbourg. There may be voting sessions. And there is the plenary hemicycle in Brussels. Now I would like to talk a bit about conference interpreting in the Parliament and about conference interpreters. Well, the presentation is quite long and I would bore you to death. But I have quite a lot of data which we may leave for later on for your questions. So I will pass now to how the conference interpretation works in the European Parliament. It is very similar as with translators. Interpreters interpret mostly in their own native tongue. This is why it is so important to have really excellent language skill and knowledge in your native tongue, in your mother tongue. We have 24 official languages in the European Parliament, well, and in the European Union, which means that if a Finnish MEP wants to say something to a Hungarian MEP and a Slovene MEP to a Spanish MEP, and combine all this in a room, we come up to 552 combinations. It is not in human forces to understand all those languages and cover all those combinations. This is why we developed a system which helps us. Obviously, it is not easy to organize such a meeting and to have all languages necessarily covered. And this is why we have something which we call with quite a long name, and it is resource-efficient, fully controlled multilingualism. Yeah, I had to concentrate to get it. And it means that only those languages which are really requested at a meeting are covered by interpreters. So we really are very attentive to use well taxpayers' money. As I said, we are working mostly into our mother tongues. And then there are variations. We can use also retours, which means that we are working from our mother tongue to a different language. This is how interpretation started, in fact. The concept of conference interpretation, the so-called high consecutive, started, well, thousands of years ago in the ancient Egypt already. And you can find some notes about consecutive interpretation also in the Bible. As it was also said before me very eloquently, to interpret a speech, well, it doesn't mean to translate it word for word. It means to transfer its semantic, connotative, and aesthetic content into another language. So this is what we are trying to do. And now I would like to explain how exactly the interpretation works. We were talking about the consecutive interpretation already. And it means that the interpreters are sitting at a conference when the speaker ends his part of the speech, a phrase or an argument, then the interpreter interprets and delivers the same content in a different language. This can be done either for a group, meaning more people, or the so-called interpretation ad personam, to one person only. And also we have simultaneous interpretation, which was used for the first time at the Peace Conference in Geneva in 1919. Since then it has developed, thanks to technology, and we have several kinds of conference interpreting in simultaneous. The first and most commonly used in the European Parliament is simultaneous in the booth. This is what you saw on the first slide and what you can see on the left. So an interpreter is, well, rather than one interpreter, 3 interpreters are sitting as a team in the booth and they are interpreting. Then you have the so-called chuchotage or whispering. This is what my kind and excellent colleagues are doing for me now. When speakers are talking Slovene, they are interpreting for me into English. And then we have another system as well, and it's called Bidur or valise. And it's a mobile simultaneous interpreting device, which means that interpreters and the participants of a meeting or of an event are using a headset. A headset, if you imagine a rock concert, rock stars wear a headset to be able to move on the stage. This is what the interpreters are using as well. We do not dance. and the participants have one big advantage. They can change the channel or switch us off. Yeah. So this is what is Bidur. It's a strange word, but it exists. As it was said, we use direct interpretation, like in our mother tongues, and then in retour, which means that retour language, the so-called B language, is the language which we master almost as well as our mother tongue. Usually it is up to one language. Well, in some exceptional cases, colleagues master really their mother tongue and 2 retour languages, but this is very, very rare. As you can see on the picture, there can be a tricky situation when you have a Chinese businessman and a Greek landowner, and the Chinese businessman wants to invest and build construction. And obviously they can't understand each other and they cannot find an interpreter who would master both languages. So they use a relay, which means that the Chinese speech is first interpreted into English and then into Greek, and then vice versa. For the European institutions and for the European Parliament as well, there only can be one relay. Interpretation cannot go through relays. For whom do we work? Obviously, the conference interpreters are working for the members of European Parliament, as well as for members of national parliaments when they come for joint meetings, for ministers, commissioners, officials of the Commission who come to explain why they vote this and that in a communication or in a proposal of new legislation. And for everybody who is coming to those meetings, like important visitors, the VIPs, and also members of common public, petitioners. And here we come to the democratic role, an important role of small languages, because a concern of a group of Slovenian people is not any smaller because they speak Slovene. They need to have the same access to petitions and to the rights as their English or French or other speaking co-citizens in the EU. We also have some tips for speakers. As you may understand, it's not so easy to interpret a technical conference on very difficult topics. I don't know whether you can see the picture over there, which speaks about sprinkler. You are not allowed to use the sprinkler system to keep your audience away. Well, this is just a joke, because this is not happening in the Parliament. The debates are very lively. are the audience? The audience are obviously other MEPs who want to react on the speech. There are members of administration of the European Parliament, there are lobbyists, journalists, other visitors, there are students who are present and researchers. The general public can listen in. You can also listen to what is happening at the committee meetings or at the plenary sessions via web streaming. And this is open to everyone if you have access to the internet. And now, who is the person in between? The interpreter. A conference interpreter is a person with a university degree who's got excellent knowledge of languages, first of all his or her mother tongue, and then of other languages. Usually, conference interpreters working for the European Parliament master from 3 to 5 languages. A conference interpreter may work for the Parliament as a freelance or as a staff interpreter at a temporary or permanent contract. It depends on the kind of tests and competitions that the person wants to undertake and sit and finally succeeds in. The specific language combination of the colleague remains the same unless the colleague adds another language. So I cannot say, for example, that this is a simple meeting and I will use all of my languages, but the other one is difficult and I will use only 2 of them. No. Once you have added a language in a language combination, it stays for all of the meetings that you will ever interpret, which means that we only add a language only when it is really very well known and we are sure that we can interpret from it or into it. And this is why we set tests in the European Parliament, to be able to add a language and maintain quality. You may also see some interesting data on the conference interpreters, like who we are. Well, 2/3 of our population are women and 1/3 of the population are men. I have quite a lot of data then, just for your interest, but I would rather concentrate now on what you need to be an interpreter. So, above an appropriate university degree and successfully passing the accreditation interinstitutional tests, an interpreter needs to be able to analyze facts and build an argument. Interpreter needs a kind of intuition. It is here with majuscule, but well, it really means anticipation. You may understand it much better if you learn German, because you know the verb comes last. And verb is important in the way you form the phrase. So you must really build up a very solid understanding of the language and of the situation. And you must pick information not only from the documents which you have available for the meeting, but from all around you, from all your environment, to be able to understand what the speaker could be going to say. And you need to build your phrase in a way that you can turn it the right way. This is why interpreter needs also to be fast in reacting and must be able to adapt to any speaker, to accents, to various languages, to various ways of expressions, and to various situations and subjects. It means a lot of studying and preparation for every day and every meeting, as my colleague Marko could confirm. And on the other hand, we are not bored. Never. There is not one boring day. It needs concentration and strong physical and nervous staying power, and also a pleasant voice, public speaking skills, high degree of intellectual curiosity, which we have very much in common with translators, intellectual integrity, tact and diplomacy, as we are in contact with high-level questions. And we need to know what terminology, European affairs, international affairs, and we need to update them. Every day new things are happening. And we also need to be flexible for travel and working long hours. Translators also work long hours because they have deadlines and they have to finish their work. But they are not requested to travel so much, I think.
Less.
Yeah. While the interpreters usually will work in Brussels, then in Strasbourg for plenary sessions, and in Luxembourg as well. And there are missions to various places in the world where you follow the MPs wherever they need. And if you have any questions, I'll be ready to answer them if I know the answer. Just the last few comments. DG Inte, DG Interpretation Conferences, has currently 318 staff interpreters, and we have about 3,000 accredited ACIs, accredited conference interpreters, who are listed in the joint EU database. In a meeting with 24 languages, there are 72 interpreters working in the booth, 3 in each booth. And in the peak periods, like during plenary sessions in Strasbourg, there are approximately 1,000 interpreters working at AU. In order to be able to provide high-quality service also in the future, we cooperate with universities, and this is why we are so glad to be here now present in Ljubljana. Thank you very much.